The anime starts with a scared kid running down a dark alley with a bag of scissors and some medicines. He falls down, but he runs and hides without taking the bag. He looks around him trying to find someone, but when he looks back, someone gets hold of him and ties him up to a chair. The moment he opens his eyes, he sees a man with a scary smile standing right in front of him. The next morning, William, who is the center of the story, and his brother Louis read the newspaper, which shows that the kid had been brutally used and killed by those people, and he wasn't the only child to have suffered that. William told Louis that he sees a pattern in the killings, as the parents of the children that were killed had jobs and professions where they often worked with the rich and upper class people, like jewelers or stable owners. It was very likely that those kids used to help their parents in their work, and that is how they were made a target by a culprit who visited that shop. Louis points out that one of the victims was a homeless kid. This gives William an idea, and they decide to carry out an investigation. On the other hand, Lord Albert James Moriarty, the eldest of the Moriarty brothers, enters the shop of a tailor named Eden and expresses grief over the death of the Eden's child Roddy. After a while, Eden says that he knows who did this to Roddy. Later we can see William giving a homeless child playing an instrument a coin and asking him to talk to him in private for another. He takes the child to a restaurant to eat and asks him if his instrument was owned by someone else before. The child gets shocked, but William says that if he plays the instrument on the streets for a living, he should be accustomed to playing it. The child asks him if he is a cop, which William disagrees, making the child a bit more comfortable. After which he tells William that the instrument belonged to Cass, the homeless kid that was one of the victims. William then tells him about the spot where Cass used to play the instrument. William goes there to find clues, and he discovered a building of a clubhouse that had a window directly projecting towards that spot. He told Louis about this, and while they were talking about the Gastros Club, Albert enters and tells them that a lot of wealthy people come there, but he hasn't heard a lot of good things about that place, but he does have a few friends that are members of that club. William asks Albert to tell one of his friends to refer William so he can join the club to further investigate. Albert tells William that this way they can also provide Eden with a chance to take revenge. Next morning William gets into the club, and while he was sipping tea a waiter approached him, and William asked him about a person who was sitting next to the same window. The waiter told him that he is the Earl of Argleton, one of the founding members of the club, and he sits at the same window seat whenever he gets the chance to do so. William decides to approach him. The Earl asks if he wants something from him, but William declines and tells him that he looked kinda bored, so William thought of giving him company. Before the Earl tells him that he is not bored, William asks if his suit was made by Eden and his ring by Goldstein Jewelers. The Earl praises his eyes, and William keeps on guessing. The pocket watch from our master's clocksmith, his hat from Morgan Bros, and his horses, stabled at the Shannon Racing Club. This left the Earl shocked, and he realized that William is not an ordinary person. Then William tells him that he must have liked the music the homeless boy played outside the building. He then asks him if he likes the meat of young hares, referring to kids, and then he tells him that he does not seem to be good at playing cards, as his face is easily readable. The Earl gets up and leaves, making William ever more certain that the Earl is behind all this. Later that day, William gets followed by a goon. William decides to smartly confront him in a closed alleyway and ask him whether he was asked to find out more about William or was he told to finish him off. The goon approaches William, but Louis jumps in out of nowhere and puts a knife on the goon's neck. Then, William asks him if he would like to answer a few questions. At the same time, Albert goes to Eden's tailoring shop and tells him that he wants to order something fancy as he is going for a dinner with a lady. They both go in a closed room. Meanwhile, William takes the Earl to an abandoned house and calls in Eden, who then kills him with a pair of scissors as William smokes a cigarette. Then, we're taken into the past life of the Moriarty brothers, where we can see William helping poor people using his knowledge, from telling people which horse will win the race to helping people exterminate rats. Someone gave him some sweets as a token of appreciation, and at the same time Albert stopped by and asked him to take a ride with him in the family's wagon. They get in and eat a few cookies, but when they get home, Louis can be seen mopping the floor in a sick condition, and when William asked him why he was doing so, the family's butler, Simon, said that his limbs still work and he can still work. Simon tells William to take off his suit as he cannot wear such expensive clothing, and he goes on to belittle him by telling him that he was poor before the Moriarty family took him and Louis in. Albert gets angry and yells at Simon. Hearing this, another boy by the name of William comes in, and Simon apologizes to him for all the commotion. We know that this is confusing, but some time back, the other William, let's refer to him as William II, refers to Albert as his brother and asks him where he is going. Albert tells him that he is going to the ragged up school. After this, William too asks him how he can go visit the underclass people so many times, and it's not something nobles should do. Albert leaves silently. Deep down, Albert hated the way the world works, and he wanted to change it. When he reached the school, he saw a girl running towards two boys with a book that Albert gave her. Those two boys were William and Louis. Albert asked the caretaker of the school who they were, and she told him that they took those boys in 2 weeks ago, as they are very smart and know how to read and speak Latin. Before coming to the school, the boys used to go to the British Museum's reading room. Knowing that they were orphans yet intelligent enough to leave adults speechless, made a special place in Albert's heart for the two boys. Later that day, at a party in the Moriarty house, a duchess tells a few people, including Moriarty, that she is going to adopt a poor child, after which Moriarty also agrees to do the same. When he gets home, he and his wife get into an argument about taking an orphan in. Seeing them fight, Albert decides to leave and go to the school for the time being. There he grows more fond of the two brothers when he sees them being the center of attention of all the orphans. Later that day, when his father asks him to choose a child that they can foster, as he regularly goes to the ragged school. Albert goes to the school next day and he sees William being William, doing calculations about something of 40 feet. As soon as Albert approaches him, the people standing with William brush off the calculations and leave, and William tells Albert that he likes to help people as they give him food and money in return, and it is much better than stealing. A few days later, he hears some people talk about a news of theft from a rich man's cellar, where a 40-foot tunnel was dug to rob it. This shocks Albert and he goes to the school. He goes straight to a room where he peeks and sees William talk to a few other kids, telling them that most nobles are great, but when he asks those kids what they should do to bad nobles, they all start shouting, "Fight them and kill them." This makes Albert think that if there were no bad people left, it would be an ideal world, and that William was taking the wrong path to achieve the right goal. When he gets back home, a servant nudges into him with her hand bleeding. William too comes in with a bloody fork in his hand and tells Albert that he was disciplining her as she was careless. This makes Albert angry, and he lies in his bed questioning everything. The next morning he goes to the school to talk with William and questions him about killing the bad nobles. He asks William if he can put up a fight with the whole country, and William tells him that it's exactly his plan. He later asks Albert if he as a nobleman would like such a world. At this moment, Louis was ready to kill Albert with his knife, but Albert asked both of them to come and stay with him in his house, and he would provide them all the help he can to change the world the way they want to. As agreed, they go to Albert's house, and as expected, they face discrimination from the butler as well as the entire family. Albert tells Simon to talk to them with respect as they are now a part of the Moriarty family, but he couldn't do anything about his parents and his brother. The Duchess, however, was happy that Mr. Moriarty adopted 2 children, and she also asked him to get Louis treated as soon as possible. While this goes on, Louis wakes up with a pain in his chest, and before William gets someone for help, he stops him and tells him that it's normal. The next morning, William too asks Louis to make him some tea, but instead of drinking the tea he pours it on the carpet and asks Louis to clean the carpet by licking it off. William interrupts and William too asks him to teach Louis a lesson, handing him a fork, but to his surprise William stabs his own hand with the fork. When Albert finds out, he apologizes, knowing that he can't do anything else. The next morning, when the family is having breakfast, they start with their usual discriminatory chat about how the underclass smell bad, and then Albert gets up and leaves, thinking to himself how evil his family is. When it turned dark and everyone fell asleep, William too went into William and Louis's room with a few forks, trying to frame them in a burglary so the police can take them out, but William, Louis, and Albert come in, and as expected, Albert stabs William too with a part of the table William had just broke. After this, they set up a trap to put the entire house on fire to remove evidence of the murder and to kill Albert's parents. They hide in an airtight chamber room as the entire house goes ablaze, killing everyone, and when they come out, Louis burns himself purposely so no one suspects them, and they decided to be brothers for the rest of their life. Fast forward to the future, William joins as a maths professor in a countryside university, and while going to the Goatspeck Manor he runs into a woman who looks at him with anger and grief. This leaves him questioning why that happened, but soon an old lady told him that the woman hates noblemen as her child had died because the Viscount refused to let his personal doctor treat the child despite the fact that her husband worked for him as a gardener. After reaching the Goatspeck Manor, he asked Louis for some tea, and while sipping the tea, Louis told him they had received a dinner invite from the Viscount, and William agreed to go there. When they reached the Viscount's place and started to have dinner, The Viscount had to take a medicine called the quinine for his heart problem. The medicine is made from plants that he grows in his own conservatory. Then he tells them that he likes to collect rare plants there, after which William asks to see his conservatory. They go to the conservatory, where the Viscount starts to show his true evil self, comparing people's breeds to that of plants. William asked if the Viscount takes care of the plants by himself, after which he points William to his gardener, Mr. Burton, the husband of the woman William met earlier. Then the Viscount gives them an invite to drink tea at his conservatory a few days later. Evening next day, William was returning from his university and he decided to stop at a bar and join Mr. Burton for a drink. There he talked about Mr. Burton's skills as a gardener and if he would like to go to the gardens of London for work. Then he talked about his wife and child and told him that he could have saved his child, but he did not. This hits Burton's mind and William tells him that he also runs a consultancy business that could be useful to him. When the brothers went to the tea party, they carried a basket with them and they told the Viscount that it's a gift for him. They went in and showed him the gift, which was grapefruit biscuits. The Viscount likes the biscuits a lot and asks Burton and his wife to prepare grapefruit juice for him. When they start doing so, Burton's wife loses control and runs towards the Viscount in an attempt to stab him, but Burton stops her. The Viscount suddenly feels pain in his heart, so William gives him his quinine medicine and right after that Burton gives him the grapefruit juice. The Viscount gets up to fire Burton and his wife and after that he tells the Moriarty brothers what he will do to Burton and his wife for revenge, but before he can finish, he starts feeling dizzy and then William tells him that grapefruit eliminates the effect of quinine and as expected, the Viscount dies. Later, William gave Burton a card to get him a job at Queen Mary's garden and bid them farewell as they left the town for good. But will they be able to eliminate all bad nobles? To find that out you will have to wait for the second part of our recap, so hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, like the video and comment your views on the anime down below.